All right, and hello, my friends. My name is Don, and today I am going to be opening up a couple of things that I got on eBay. Start up my music. Here we go. So I've been having an issue with my headphones lately. Um, I tried to fix the levels. Hopefully everything is fine where you can hear my audio and the audio of my music in the background. If not, please say something in chat. Hopefully, hopefully it's working. I think I got it right. At any rate, I picked up a good number of auctions from a seller in the UK. So I got a bunch of Warhammer models and a handful of the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, or Middle-earth strategy battle game, I think it's called now. I have the box off the side. It's a little bit big to fit underneath the camera right here. So anyway, first thing actually looks like the green plastic. That is the fetid bloat drone. This is a there we go. This is a model for the Death Guard, which I do play Death Guard, and I do have one of these myself from my army. But this one specifically, I actually got, if I can actually follow through and do it, I got it for a friend who is considering joining, playing some Death Guard. They were previously one of the most underpowered armies in Warhammer 40k, but recently they just got a buff with a new army rule. So hopefully that'll help, and with a new model, it will encourage my friends to follow through with actually joining. And I got this guy for, I think it was about $15, maybe a little bit less. And maybe more after shipping. I don't exactly recall. But they retail a brand new one for $60. This is, you can tell from the green plastic, this is the version that came in the 8th edition starter sets. And I think some of the, or the launch box and some of the starter sets, I believe. That's why they went for a little bit less. Once it's all painted up, though, you can't tell the difference. So, set that off to the side. And now that I've set it on air, I can actually force myself to, give it to the friend like I said I would. Okay, this one's heavy. Let's go with that one. We have, two models here. So first one, this is the Uruk-hai Captain Lurtz from the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game. This is the captain that kills Boromir in the first film. He's got, is that a bow on his back? Yeah, so he has a bow, shield, and sword. Yeah, I've yet to have this model. I have a good number of Uruk-hai, so I can add him to my army. Next thing I have is a Space Marine Scout. It was labeled as that, but I actually don't recognize this one. I have a bunch of the old Space Marine Scouts, but this one looks old. It was labeled as Rogue Trader era. I'm not familiar with Rogue Trader Space Marine Scouts. So hopefully this is, official. I have seen some sort of knockoffs that were from that same era, but made by a different company to look like Space Marines. In fact, I have a sculpt that looks to be a female Space Marine, but is not Games Workshop. I wish that it were not glued to the base, otherwise I would pop it off and check the tab, but I cannot at this moment. So we'll set those two up here, and grab the next. Okay, so this is a Rogue Trader era Eldar warrior. This one I know is official. I don't think I have this exact one, but I do have a whole bunch of Eldar from this era. Typically I'll use these guys just as guardians for my retro army. One of these days I'll have to do a showcase and just show off all my old Eldar. But this is a new one for me, so I'm glad to add it to my collection. Next up, okay. So we have another Uruk-hai captain. This is an unnamed captain, not one from the named in the fiction. This is just generic captain that you can use with that stat line. I should actually say for alerts as well. These guys are painted fine. This is probably the same standard of painting that I would paint my own models to. Lord of the Rings is a little bit finer miniatures, like comparing, you know, the arms, the legs, the hands on these guys. The Lord of the Rings models are much more realistic scale, so painting that finer detail is harder because the detail is smaller. I might have to clean up this one's base a little bit because that got a little messy, and then all the way to the floor. I'll pick him up later. Lurtz doesn't have any basing, so I'll have to base him to match the rest of my Urukai, which at this point I don't think I have a set basing style for them. I'll have to fix that later. And my phone is dying. Let me plug that in real quick. Okay, next up, we have Saruman the White. So the photos of this one, looking at the auction, it's funny. If you look at it, the detail is not great. But they're trying, whoever painted this tried some finer, some nicer, higher difficulty skills, such as some recess shading and some highlighting on the edges. It's pretty in like an abstract way, but definitely a little lower standard than what I want to put on my tabletop. So I will probably, not right now, but I'll probably wind up stripping this one of paint and repainting it myself. Alright. Oh, this one is in the bag. Okay. So I have, when the Leagues of Votan came out last year, I picked up the launch box for them. But I had always wanted to get some of the old school squats. So here is one of them. These are the Space Dwarves of Warhammer 40,000, and he has a heavy bolter or a las cannon. Either way, a cool model to add to my collection. Probably won't actually be able to use him with the Leagues of Votan currently, but eventually I might get enough of him that I'll get a small force together for some second edition games, some retro games. Okay, so here's one I am very happy to see. I got a squad of, well, technically I bought 2 auctions of 5-man squads of the old Chaos Warriors. These were the Chaos Warriors from Warhammer Fantasy from the 90s. In the, I think the early 2000s, they got a newer sculpt, but the style of Chaos Warriors has remained fairly consistent. So even with the newer army, I could just throw these guys in there and they would look not out of place. But as it stands, I definitely like, you know, retro hammer. Oh, check this out. This mutated head. Gross. Oh, they swapped. I didn't see that. He's got, is that a Tyrannid arm there too? Cool. I have a little bit of a good force of, you know, retro Chaos Warriors as well. So I will put these guys in with that box, and eventually when I get out my retro Warhammer Fantasy, I will have another squad of Chaos Warriors to add. So let's see, there were 2 musicians. It looked like there was a champion. And another handful of just warriors. Cool. Switch them off to the side. Okay, here we go. These are Eradicators. These are going to be for my Salamander's army. Obviously, the Meltas really fit well with the Salamanders. These are painted fine. Decent paint job, but unfortunately, Salamanders have green armor, not black. The basing I didn't notice as well is nice. Pretty cool. They had, you can definitely tell in the video, very shiny paint. Very gloss. Nothing wrong with that, except that it is not my colors. So I am going to eventually strip these guys, which is a shame because the bases look nice, but that's also not how I'm basing my army. So they'll get stripped and have a new coat of paint on them eventually. Alright, here is some more Lord of the Rings. We have Uruk-hai warriors. So this guy was selling them in lots of 10 each. So, he's missing an arm. I hadn't noticed that in the auction. Maybe it just fell off the box. Oh, there are 2 who are missing arms. That's a shame. I didn't notice that in the photos. Maybe they are just in the box. I hope so, at least. And these are a decent start for a paint job. I will probably eventually do a little bit of touch-ups. Maybe throw some ink on that armor so it doesn't look too shiny. And yeah, this one's also got a little bit of overflow on its basing. I'll have to clean that up. But that's the only one in this pack that looks like has that issue. Some of them look pretty nice. Even got the white hand on there. On the shield, I mean. Okay. Just a couple more things in here. Whoops. Here we have another group of Uruk-hai. There's one of those arms I was talking about. Because this pack was entirely pikemen. So one thing about the Uruk-hai pike, in the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, you can, if you're in a fight, you have 2 guys fighting up against each other, you can have them supported by a spear. So one guy would come behind, and they would count as part of this half of that fight. With pikemen, you can in fact have 3 lined up, so 2 supporting the first one. It's one of the unique characteristics of the Uruk-hai army. I think they were the only ones that had those pikes. At least the only ones at the time when I had played, because it has been many years. Now this guy, I think he fell out of that first pack. He was sitting in the box. Just another Uruk-hai warrior. Whoop. A couple of things fell over. Okay, so here is another squat. Looks like he's just got a bolt pistol. It's got the start of a paint job. Interesting colors. I like it. It's kind of reminds me of something ceramic. I will probably keep this paint job and maybe just add to it. Maybe throw on some inks for the beard and the trousers and boots. And then add a little bit more because he obviously needs more color for his gloves and his belt. Okay, then this one, an Uruk-hai Berserker. These guys are pretty cool in the game. They are, obviously have a big old weapon, no shield, barely any armor, so they are rather fragile, but very strong. They also have, I think, a courage value of 7, which means they will almost never run away in a fight, which is pretty good if you, lose a lot of guys. Okay, yep, here is that other Uruk-hai shield arm, so I do have all of the pieces, just like I thought from the photos. We have one more little pack here. Oop, I'm already losing guys from it. We have a big bunch of dwarves. So most of these are from the, I think it was the 6th edition starter, maybe 7th edition starter, launch box or starter pack, whatever, from Fantasy Battles. The Battle for Skull Pass. So I've got a bunch of these very, I guess you'd call them round dwarves. We've got a couple of Thunderers with the rifles, some warriors. Here is a Slayer. And I have a lot of, I think I got 2 of those packs, 2 of those boxes at the time. I'm pretty sure I traded the orcs or the goblins from one of them to a friend. So these are nothing new for me, but it's still good to have, more dwarves, more options. And these will make it a little battle force for an old fantasy army if I ever need to. But what I really got this pack for was these guys. These ones predate that pack, the Battles for Skull Pass. Just some old dwarves. Oop, helps if I actually put them in camera. Yeah, again, not the prettiest paint jobs, but those might be salvageable. I might be able to touch them up, paint over what's already there. I don't think I'll have to strip them. And oddly, this one is on a round base. Nope, not coming off. So these are plastic. I believe these were in the pack at the time that they sold of, probably I think it was 10 of them in one box. They did the same thing with a bunch of different armies at the time, and they were all just single piece, monopose, all exactly the same. You throw them in a regiment, and you don't really care if they die, because they're all the exact same model, don't have much emotional attachment to any specific ones. Alright, and it looks like, let me check one more time, yep, that is it for this box. So I am hyped to get, especially the Lord of the Rings. I have been really enjoying, I've been rewatching Lord of the Rings. So relearning Lord of the Rings, relearning how to play it. The current iteration plays exactly the same as the old one. Excuse me. There are some slight rules changes, like how certain weapons work, and the way that you muster an army. You have to have certain heroes that allow you to take a certain amount of warriors. So I do have to relearn a few things, but the combat is exactly the same. It plays just like I remember it, and I'm excited. Alright, well, that is all I've got for today. I am going to be putting these guys in their respective boxes in their places that they belong in my collection. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, go ahead and hit that like button. And thanks for stopping by. I will see you next time.